Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. It has been a long time. I took a little bit of a break over the summer with all the stuff happening with the pandemic and COVID, but I am back. I am here, and of course application season is in full swing. So I'm reading lots of personal statements, a lot of personal statements. So I have a lot of writers come to me and personal statements from freshman year undergrad all the way up until PhD candidates, of course. And you can go to my website, koodooslearning.com. I'll put it up there on the screen so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. So reading lots of applications, and of course I'm also reading applications for University of California, San Diego, and we've just started the training for that, so I'm just saturating myself, big S-H-E-G-R-E word there, with lots of personal statements. And I said to myself, how can I distill all this information I'm seeing in the personal statements, all the comments and notes I have that are reoccurring? How can I distill that down into tiny little bites that I can give to my viewers? And so I'm thinking of, these are going to be my 3 down and dirty tips for 2020 when it comes to writing your personal statements. So I'll get 3. Stay tuned for all 3. They only get better. And of course, if you're still working on your personal statement, thinking about going to grad school one day or transferred, any type, this will work for any type of personal statement. So stay tuned, listen to these 3 down and dirty tricks, and I promise they will help you for your personal statements this year. All right, number 1. I think I always try to figure out, how do I talk about this? But what is important, or let's describe it as human nature. I've always think that humans have an innate nature to learn, to discover new things. I mean, we just launched 4 new astronauts to the space station for an extended stay. So humans have this drive, this pull towards discovering, learning new things. And I think that even applies to the personal statement. But what I mean, what's new is interesting, and being interesting is what's gonna get you into the college of your choice. So what do I mean? Let's take, for an example, an applicant who writes an essay about, I'm looking at my notes here so I look down, writes notes about being, or they write an essay about the impact of being a camp counselor and how the impact that it's had on their intended major. In all honesty, like, if I'm being real, in many cases, the summer camp counselor can be a pretty generic personal statement. In all cases, except, and I've read the camp summer counselor personal statement hundreds of times after reading thousands of personal statements. It comes up a lot. But as long as you're new and interesting, I think it works. A lot of folks can write a summer camp counselor story, but only one can write your story. So let's say, for example, you can write hey, I went to summer camp and this is where I learned 1, 2, 3. And it was, an impactful experience. Or, now here, let me set the stage. You can recount remembering the drive to summer camp that you took from Oklahoma to Washington State and what that experience was like, driving with your family every year, and what you knew you'd be able to experience and talk about with them on the drive back. Other thing you might do is say, at that same summer camp, what might be new and interesting to an admissions reader or an admissions officer reading your application is the namesake of the school. Say, for instance, the namesake of the summer camp. So say, for instance, the summer camp you're going to was named after the first Black astronaut in space, since we're on that topic. That's new. That's interesting to learn about that. Even that, you got to consider that most of the people reading your applications are somewhere in the education system. By default, they're kind of all in there because we're admissions readers. But I mean, you'll have external readers who are grad students or, work some other job not at the university. And oftentimes, even so, those folks are education majors, policy majors, teachers, counselors. They work in education. So again, there's this, like, as much as you are going to college to learn new things, so are admissions officers. And that's the important to remember. And if you look at what I did there, instead of the generic camp counselor story, 1, 2, 3, 4 bullet points, you have this vivid, sensory, rich narrative that you can convey. And again, the point I'm trying to make is that as humans, we crave new information. We crave interesting things. We crave learning. So teach the admissions reader, the admissions officer, something about you. Let them learn about who you are, and do it in a way that's unique, your own story, your own experiences. And I think it works every time. That's number 1. Number 2, some of the personal essays I'm reading are sounding like they came straight out of a medical journal. And I'm not talking about that these students are potential med students or applying to med programs or even interested in STEM topics. They sound like medical school journal articles because they're overly professional and overly formal and overly academic. And what I'm talking about is the tone is completely off for a personal essay. And by tone, I mean like the particular feeling you wish to communicate through your writing. So it could be like excitement, pessimism, optimism, professionalism, formality, any of those things. But I would say that being super professional or super formal in a personal statement, you probably want to steer away from that. So I always tell my writers with their personal statements, think about your personal statement and how you write it as if you're talking to your teammates in a group project. So classmates who you're kind of still in a formal setting, but they're your classmates and peers, or the tone you might use when you're talking to a longtime coach. Aside from that, writing in anything other than your natural tone won't be authentic. It'll sound rehearsed and it'll sound artificial, and we can tell every time. So when you start thinking to yourself, oh my God, I gotta write this and I don't want it to come off all crazy, think, relax, and just write it how you speak it. All right, number 3, get to this one. This one is gonna save you major time. If you have multiple essays to write and you're like, oh, these prompts are pretty similar, then always start with the longest one. You may think, duh, that makes sense. But you know, I've had multiple writers come to me and they have, you know, one essay for 4 schools, for instance. This is a recent situation. You had one essay for 4 schools, so 4 essays total. In one school, the essay was unlimited. You could write as much as you want. For the other 3 schools, the essays had to be 650 words or less. So of course I'm gonna say, hey, start with the longest one. That way you have that base essay. Again, all similar prompts. You know how these essay prompts are. They don't vary very much. You start with the longest essay and you just chop down from there. Take out that extraneous material, take out some of that detail that's not really necessary. Maybe you hack a couple paragraphs off, but that's the way you should start. Start with the longest essay and work your way down. Don't go into it thinking, I'm gonna write this 600-word essay first and then expand from there. That's the hard way to do it. Start with your longest essay and shrink it down, cut out words, and I'm good at that. Again, email me. You can go to my website, koodooslearning.com, or email me at joy@koodooslearning.com, and I'll put all that info on the screen. But those are my 3. So, you know, what is it? Be new and interesting. It's not as easy as it thinks, so think about it. Also, be careful about your tone. Talk is like a conversation, just like in this video. And then number 3, work smarter, not harder. Start with that longest essay first, and you'll be good to go, I promise. All right, that's what I got. Like and subscribe. Thank you for sticking with me and watching the video. I really do appreciate it. I love making these videos talking about admissions. I mean, we're in the thick of it right now, admission cycle. So it's on my brain like 90% of the time, especially when I'm thinking about work. Again, you can email me at joy@koodooslearning.com if you have questions. I always love answering questions for my subscribers, especially if they're quick. I can get to them during the day. And then again, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.